Welcome, everyone. One of the best ways to prepare for the IELTS speaking test is to see it in action. That's exactly what we're doing today with this complete mock test from Spinta. As you listen, think about what the candidate does well and where they could improve. Afterwards, we'll compare notes with a full performance breakdown. Let's begin. Good morning. My name is Miss Patel. Can I have your full name, please?
Good morning. My name is Daniel Roberts. You can call me Daniel, thank you.
Thank you. Where are you from, Daniel?
I come from a small coastal city in the northwest. It's not very big, but I really like the sea and the old markets there. Growing up by the coast influenced a lot how I spend my free time now.
Right. Let's start with some questions about your home and family. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
I live in a flat on the second floor of a converted Victorian building. The flat is cozy, 2 bedrooms and a small balcony which I use for plants. The building is quite old, so the ceilings are high, which I like because it makes the rooms feel airy.
What do you like most about your neighborhood?
What I like most is the sense of community. There are small cafes, a bookshop that hosts readings on Saturdays, and many families with children, so it's lively without being noisy. Also, it is walking distance to my workplace, which is very convenient for me.
Has your neighborhood changed much over time?
Yes, it has changed. A few years ago there were more empty shops, but recently a lot of independent businesses moved in. That changed the area into something more creative. On the other hand, some of the local people say rent is going up, and that makes it difficult for long-term residents.
Okay. Now let's talk about work or study. Are you a student or do you work?
I work. I'm a project manager at a small tech company. My role is mainly coordinating teams, planning releases and keeping communication between developers and the clients. It's busy, but I enjoy seeing a project from idea to delivery.
How long have you been doing that job?
I've been doing this job for about 3 years now. Before that I worked in customer support, and later moved into product coordination. The transition was gradual, but I found I liked organizing things and helping teams work better together.
What do you enjoy most about your work?
I enjoy solving practical problems and the teamwork aspect. There is satisfaction in taking a messy brief and turning it into a clear plan. Also, I like mentoring junior colleagues. When they improve and start to lead tasks themselves, it's very rewarding for me.
Do you think your job will change in the next few years?
Probably, yes. I think remote work trends and automation tools will change how meetings and planning are done. I hope to move into a role with more strategic responsibility, maybe focusing on product strategy rather than day-to-day management.
Let's move on to hobbies. What do you like to do in your free time?
In my free time, I enjoy playing guitar, going for long runs, and reading. Music is important to me, so I'm very interested about different styles, and sometimes I try composing short pieces. Running helps me clear my head, especially after a stressful week at work.
How long have you been playing guitar?
I've been playing since I was a teenager, so probably 15 years. At first it was just for fun, but later I joined a small band for a while, and that was a great experience, because I learned to play with others, and to arrange songs.
What do you enjoy most about running?
I like running because it gives me time to think, and it's a simple way to keep fit. When I run, I often plan ideas for work, or rehearse things mentally. It also connects me with parts of the city I would not normally see.
Can you give an example of a book you recently read and liked?
Recently I read a novel about migration and identity, which I found very moving. The writing was subtle, and the characters felt real. It reminded me of some conversations in my family about moving between places and how that shapes who you are.
Right. Now about daily routine. What does a typical weekday look like for you?
I usually wake up around 6:30, have coffee, and then run if the weather is good. I start work at 9, with a short morning meeting. Then I spend the day checking progress, resolving blockers, and planning. Evenings I often practice guitar or read, and then prepare for the next day.
Do you use any tools to organize your day?
Yes, I use a digital calendar and a task management app. I also write a short to-do list on paper because it feels more permanent. The apps help when multiple people are involved in a task, but the paper list is good for my personal priorities.
Finally, in this part, let's talk about future plans. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I hope to be in a more senior role, perhaps leading a product area. I would like to have more responsibility for long-term strategy and to work on projects that have a social impact. I also hope to travel more and maybe live abroad for a short period.
Okay, that's the first part. Now I will give you a topic to speak about for 2 minutes. You will have 1 minute to prepare. Here is your topic. Describe a memorable journey you have taken. Please say when you went, where you went, who you were with, and explain why it was memorable.
Thank you. About 3 years ago, I took a road trip along the west coast with 2 close friends. We decided to drive for 10 days without a fixed itinerary, just following interesting places on the map. We started in the city where I live, then went through small fishing villages, national parks, and ended up on a remote peninsula. One night stands out. We parked near a cliff and watched a coastline festival with local music and firelight. It felt like we had stepped into another time. The journey was memorable because of the people I was with, the slow pace, and the conversations we had. We talked about our plans, fears, and small victories, and that created a strong bond. Also, the landscapes were unexpectedly dramatic, with rugged cliffs and quiet beaches. I remember learning to cook a local dish with an old couple who ran a small guesthouse. They taught us stories about the place as well as the recipe. The mix of human connection and landscape made it stay in my memory. I think that trip changed the way I travel now because I prefer not to rush and to spend time meeting people rather than just seeing sights. Is 2 minutes up now?
Right, thank you. Can I ask, what was the most challenging part of that trip?
The most challenging part was navigating when the GPS lost signal in remote areas. We had to rely on paper maps and local advice. At first it was stressful because we worried about time and petrol, but it turned into an adventure and made us more resourceful. We learned to ask locals for directions, and that was often more effective.
Interesting. How did that trip influence how you plan future trips?
It influenced me a lot. Now I leave space for unplanned stops. I try to stay in locally run places, and I value conversations with residents. I also prepare better with backup plans for navigation, and try to learn a few phrases of the local language before I go.
Okay, now we will move to the discussion. Let's talk more about travel and experiences. Why do people travel, in your view?
I think people travel for different reasons. Some want relaxation, others seek adventure or cultural experiences. For me, travel is mainly about learning new perspectives and stepping out of daily routines. Meeting different people shows you other ways of living and thinking, and that can be quite enlightening. Also, travel can be a way to challenge yourself and grow personally.
Do you think travel is more important for young people than older people?
Not necessarily. Young people might have more freedom to travel for long periods, but older people often have more resources and an appreciation for depth. Each age group gets different benefits. Young people gain independence, while older travelers might focus on culture, history, or reconnecting with family.
How has tourism changed in your country in recent years?
Tourism has become more diverse. There was once a focus on mass tourism and large resorts, but now there is growth in ecotourism and cultural tourism. People are more interested in authentic experiences and sustainability. However, the increase in visitors has caused pressure on some fragile environments and communities, which needs careful management.
What can governments do to manage the negative effects of tourism?
Governments can implement policies like visitor limits in sensitive areas, invest in infrastructure that disperses tourists, and support local businesses so benefits stay in the community. Education campaigns about respectful behavior also help. A combination of regulation and community involvement tends to work best.
Do you think technology has changed the way people travel?
Absolutely. Technology like booking platforms and maps makes planning easier and allows travelers to find small local places they might otherwise miss. Social media can popularize destinations quickly, which is both good and bad. On the positive side, it's easier to discover niche experiences. On the negative, sudden popularity can overwhelm a place.
How do you feel about the use of travel apps that recommend places based on user ratings?
I use them, but cautiously. Ratings give a general idea that sometimes small local places don't have many reviews and yet they are excellent. I try to balance user ratings with local blogs or recommendations from friends. Also, relying only on apps can make travel predictable, while surprises are often the most memorable parts.
Right. Now let's consider hypothetical situations. If someone could travel anywhere for free for a year, what would be the advantages and disadvantages?
The advantages would be obvious: exposure to many cultures, learning new languages, and broadening horizons. It could be life-changing in terms of personal growth and career options. Disadvantages might include losing a sense of stability, difficulty maintaining relationships at home, and possibly burnout from constant movement. If I would have known that such an opportunity was coming earlier in my life, I would went somewhere different, but that is speculation.
Okay. What skills do you think frequent travelers develop?
Frequent travelers develop adaptability, communication skills, and problem solving. They learn to manage logistics, handle unexpected situations, and interact with diverse people. These skills transfer well to work and personal life because they teach you to stay calm and flexible.
Do you think travel should be part of education for young people?
Yes, I think travel or exchange programs provide valuable learning outside the classroom. They teach cultural sensitivity and independence. However, access to such programs should be equitable, because otherwise it benefits only those who can afford it, and that can widen social gaps.
How does travel shape people's identity, in your opinion?
Travel exposes you to different norms and values, so it can shift your perspective, and sometimes your priorities. People may adopt new habits or ways of thinking that become part of their identity. It can also strengthen a sense of home by making you appreciate where you come from.
Right. We are almost finished. Is there a place you haven't visited but would like to see?
I would like to visit Japan. I'm fascinated by the mix of tradition and modernity, the food culture, and the landscape variety. It seems to offer both quiet rural temples and vibrant city life, which I find appealing.
Okay, that's the end of the speaking test. Thank you very much. Do you have any final questions?
No, thank you. It was a good experience. I appreciate it.
Right. Thank you, Daniel. That is all. The candidate demonstrated Band 7.5 level performance. Notable errors included saying, "I am very interested about music," when the correct form is, "I am very interested in music, and if I would have known, I would went there," instead of, "If I had known, I would have gone there." Another occasional lapse was, "I live in a flat on the second floor of a converted Victorian building," which is fine, but there were a couple of minor preposition slips and tense choices in complex sentences. These errors were infrequent and appeared mainly in longer or hypothetical utterances. They did not prevent understanding. Fluency was generally strong with a natural rhythm. Only minimal hesitation such as short pauses, style fillers, before complex points. Vocabulary was wide and appropriate, with successful use of terms like ecotourism, strategic responsibility, and community involvement, though sometimes a preposition choice was imprecise. Grammatically, the candidate used a range of complex structures and subordinate clauses effectively, but showed occasional inaccuracies with conditionals and multi-clause past constructions. This performance justifies a band 7.5 because communication was coherent, well-developed, and flexible. Lexical resource and discourse management were solid, and pronunciation was clear. What prevented a higher score were the few systematic errors in complex grammar and a small number of collocation or preposition mistakes that appeared under pressure. To reach Band 8, the candidate should aim to eliminate the occasional conditional and tense errors, refine preposition use in less common collocations, and maintain the same level of fluency while using fully accurate complex structures. Thank you for practicing with this IELTS speaking mock test. Visit Spinta for more comprehensive mock tests and personalized feedback to boost your IELTS score.